there, and I didn't preach there, but I was just there, and I wanted to be blessed. And one of the evening services, there was a pretty good group of people there, but after the service, there was this young man up at the altar, and he was just maybe in his early 20s, and I knew that he just needed something from the Lord. He just needed that presence from the Lord. So I went up there and I sat down next to him, and I was praying for him, and the Lord just said, you need to take him in your arms and just love him. That's what he needed. So I just reached over, and he was just a little guy anyway. I just pulled him over onto my lap, and I just held him up, and I just began to cry. And he was crying. And the Lord just set that young man free from something that he had been in bondage of for so long, because someone would just love him, not judge him, not critique him. And that's the way that we minister to the Lord. That's the way you and I give to him. And I don't want you to get frustrated sometimes because we feel like, you have to get into that spiritual place to be able to minister to the Lord, and you don't. You should be in that spiritual place all the time anyway. This is not something we should go into on Sunday and go out of when we leave here, but we should be in that presence of the Lord continually. And I don't mean praying, and I don't, not doing all the holier than thou things that people, but just to be in that presence of the Lord. And then when we're doing what we have to do, our daily lives, on our jobs, whatever we do, when the Lord quickens us, we can just reach out with that love and minister to the Lord as we minister to those that are around us. If you have your Bibles, go to Ezekiel 43. And I want to share some revelation truth to you, as much as the Spirit of the Lord would do through me. And I want Ezekiel 43. Just let me read these verses to you first. 43 and 10. And this was the Lord, and he said to Ezekiel, because God had been dealing with Ezekiel, and he said to Ezekiel, thou son of man, show the house to the house of Israel, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and let them measure the pattern. And then go over to verse 12. And this was still God speaking to Ezekiel. He said, this is the law of the house. Upon the top of the mountain, the whole limit thereof round about shall be most holy. Behold, this is the law of the house. So what I want to show you, I want to show the house to the house. In the previous chapters, God had been measuring the house out for Ezekiel. He had been showing Ezekiel the height and depth and breadth and the measurements of the rooms and this this house that God was showing him was, in a sense, the natural house. But there was another house that God was speaking to Ezekiel about. And he said, show the house to the house. This comes by the spirit of revelation, because there's this house, this natural house, and then in comparison to this house, there's a spiritual house that's identical to this one. And that's the house, the spiritual house, that God was saying to Ezekiel, I want you to show the spiritual house to the natural house, because the natural house is not enough. The tabernacle in the Old Testament was not enough. And even the house, this house, or any place that we separate and sanctify to the Lord, and we say, Lord, this is your house. But there's another house that has to come to that house before it's complete. And bringing this down even a step further, each one of us are a house unto the Lord. But there is another house that has to come to this house. And that's that spiritual house that God was speaking to Ezekiel about. And if you go back up into one of the preceding verses, it says that after God measured this house and he showed it to Ezekiel, it says God spoke out of that house. And he said, Ezekiel, there's something greater than this. There's a house that you have to bring by revelation to the house. Show the house to the house. If there is nothing else you remember when you go from here, this verse that says, show the house to the house, and it will come. The understanding and the revelation. We are in a period of time. Not just down to the ages and the years. We have come into a period of time that the church is afraid of revelation. You just say anything about revelation to some people, and they're like, oh my God, no, that's too deep for us. That's too holy for us. And the whole church world, you just speak revelation to them and they kind of back up, and because they're afraid of this spirit of revelation. John the Revelator, when he spoke of what he saw, he said, this is the revelation of Jesus Christ. And that should release us from all fear of the spirit of revelation. We need revelation in the church. We need men and women who will be walking, talking revelations to us. Not some, way up there spiritual thing, but the revelation that gets into our hearts and our lives and where we live. Not just where we go to church. Not just being spiritual on Sunday, but having this spirit of revelation so grip our heart that we begin to cry, God, I want this revelation more than I want any food or water or any reputation. So in trying to show you the house to the house and the law of the house, and the house, in itself, if we can speak to the house is not enough. There is a law that comes with the revelation of this house to the house. And it's the law of the Spirit.